The Las Vegas Raiders and the Minnesota Vikings are two teams coming off of a bye week, and both are faced with a must-win game in this late stretch of the season. For the Raiders, there's a lot on the line, and it starts with the future of our head coaching situation. If Antonio Pierce wants to keep his job as the interim head coach and make that the permanent role, then it all really starts with this game. The margin of error is very thin for the Raiders if we want to keep our playoff hopes alive. And for the Raiders to win this game, I think the offense is going to have to take a huge step forward from what we've really seen from this offense all season. The Raiders have only scored 20 points or more once throughout the whole season. And I think this is going to be a game where we're going to have to find a way to put up over 20 points on the board. The Raiders are going against a very, very aggressive defense under defensive coordinator Brian Flores, a guy who's done a great job just disguising his defenses, and he's been showing a lot of exotic blitz packages. There's a lot of different examples of the Vikings, showing cover 0, then they drop back 8, or they're showing that they're going to drop back, and then boom, they come out with the pressure. The Minnesota Vikings defense, they like to blitz a lot. They run the most amount of blitzes in the NFL. They're the #1 defense when it comes to blitz rate. So the Raiders and quarterback Aiden O'Connell will really need to prepare for this. Now look, so far the good news for the Raiders is that rookie quarterback Aiden O'Connell has a 93.0 passer rating against the blitz. So he's been pretty effective against the blitz thus far. But part of that I think has been due to his ability to be able to diagnose coverages pre-snap and post-snap. He's a pretty smart player for a rookie. Now what does concern me for this matchup though is I'm sure Brian Flores is going to be looking at this game, and he's going to try to find a way to bring a lot of creative blitz packages. And I'm sure Brian Flores is really going to try to find a way to get a free rusher on Aiden O'Connell, because Aiden O'Connell has shown us that his ability as a quarterback has been very limited. Really, that's the biggest weakness I see thus far with Aiden O'Connell. When there's a free rusher, the guy can't really make anybody miss. It seems like he's got heavy feet out there, and this could be a big problem for the Raiders. And in order to be prepared for this game, this is really a game where we're going to need O'Connell to just take command of the offense, make the necessary adjustments to the protection pre-snap, make sure the offensive line has the right snap count, and just make sure we are accounting for all the blitzing players. And O'Connell will need to continue to know where to throw the ball in these type of situations and get the ball out quickly when he has to, and essentially make the Vikings pay when they bring the pressure. Now, as I mentioned, the good news is O'Connell has been effective against the blitz thus far, but we are going against a defense that blitzes a lot differently than most other teams. And I'm sure Brian Flores is going to try to dial some things up to get some pressure on the young rookie quarterback. And really, this is going to be a big test for Aiden O'Connell and this offense in general, with Bo Hardegree as well, going against a legitimate defensive coordinator and just a dangerous defense overall. And now turning to the defense, I think the Raiders defense in this season, we've done a pretty well job on that side of the football. And Minnesota has struggled recently with Josh Dobbs as a quarterback. He had like 5 turnovers versus the Denver Broncos, who's another team that had just came alive and are really back in the race now. But I will say the Minnesota Vikings, they're getting their superstar wide receiver Justin Jefferson back. And really a player like that, a player of that caliber, can be a game changer anytime he's on the field. They also have one of the best tight ends in the league. So definitely a couple different very challenging matchups for the Raiders defense this week. Really what I'm hoping to see from the defense in this game is that hopefully we can get back on track when it comes to creating turnovers, like we were doing so before the Kansas City game versus the Miami Dolphins. We were able to create 3 turnovers. Hopefully we can get back onto that pace and be able to create some turnovers and put our offense in a good position. But really this game could be the start of something big for Antonio Pierce to secure his future as the Raiders head coach. December is finally here, and this is the most crucial time period for all teams in the National Football League. Time is running out, and it's essentially make it or break it time. Currently, the Raiders stand at 13th in the AFC, But you look at it, the difference between us, the 13th spot, and the 5th seed is only 2 games. So look, a lot can really happen within this next month, but it really starts with winning at home against the Minnesota Vikings. The Raiders are going to have 2 back-to-back home games. After we play the Vikings, we're going to be on a short week, Thursday Night Football against the Chargers. That's going to be another huge matchup. You have to win that game. We got to get revenge on the Chargers for beating us earlier in the season. And overall, I think it's going to be crucial for us to win those back-to-back games to really get back into the race in the AFC. After that, we'll have a huge showdown against the Chiefs on the road. But, you know, it really starts with these 2 home games. And for the Raiders to win, I think this offense is going to need to be able to break that 20-point mark. Aiden O'Connell is going to have to make the Vikings pay when they get aggressive. We're going to have to see some improvement from Bo Hardegree when it comes to the play calling versus the Chiefs. He did good in the first half, but he wasn't able to sustain that in the second half. That has to change. We have to be able to adjust when necessary. And ultimately on offense too, we got to find a way to get Josh Jacobs going in the run game. As Antonio Pierce said earlier in the season, Josh Jacobs is really the heart and soul of this offense. And I totally agree with that. Without Jacobs, I can see this game being very, very difficult for us to win if we can't run the ball effectively, because this team, I've said it time after time, I think this team is just not really built to be one-dimensional on offense. We don't have the type of personnel to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game and, you know, expect to have a chance to win that game. Now, the Raiders are 5-7. I think when it's all said and done, we have to be 9-8 at the bare minimum to really have a chance to have a shot at the wild card spot. But look, even if the Raiders do that and we miss the playoffs, I think it's still really important to win as many games as possible for Antonio Pierce, because finishing the season with a 7-10 record or an 8-9 record really does not guarantee him anything when it comes to winning that head coaching job. He's really going to have to exceed and at the bare minimum go 4-1 in this stretch. That would put us at 9-8. I think these are very important games moving forward for the Raiders. Jobs are on the line for the Raiders with the coaching staff, with also with the players too. I mean, there's a lot of players on this roster that won't really know what the future is going to be, especially if Mark Davis decides to bring in a new regime, and we all know how that can go. When a new regime gets in here, they're going to clean house and bring in a lot of their type of players and personnel, etc., etc. So look, I think there's a lot on the line for the Raiders this Sunday, and I'm really hoping we can see that energy and that urgency out there on the football field this Sunday. But I think the Raiders are definitely going to bounce back. I think we're going to win this game somewhere along the lines of a 23-17 type of game. The Raiders get the victory. But Raider Nation, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you think will be the keys to victory for the Raiders to get a victory over the Minnesota Vikings? Do you guys think we will win this game? Let me know in the comment section down below. With that being said, that's all I have for you guys in today's video. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.